Let's start with our first news. Dan Hooker delivered an emphatic reaction to Arman Tsarukyan following the UFC's recent fight announcement, and his remarks, both on social media and in a subsequent submission radio interview, were as blunt as they were personal. After the promotion revealed the main and co-main events for the upcoming card, Hooker took to X to voice his initial response and then expanded on those sentiments during the interview, leaving little doubt about his intent and mindset going into any prospective encounter. Hooker opened by characterizing his emotional response in stark terms, saying simply, "I'll cave his head in." That blunt declaration was followed up on submission radio, where Hooker articulated a clear willingness to engage physically should the opportunity arise. "If he comes into arm's range of me, I'm going to hit him," he said, framing his position in pragmatic, combative terms. Proximity equals action. He went on to explain that if he and Tsarukyan were placed in close quarters, he believed the fight would be stopped not by rules or officials but by the intensity of the exchange itself. "If you put me near the guy, the fight's off," he stated, indicating that emotions and aggression could override any planned encounter. Hooker also described an intention to provoke his opponent as a tactical and psychological strategy. "I'm going to try to hit him and throw at him and piss him off." That candid admission underlines a deliberate approach to unsettle Tsarukyan, using physicality and provocation to gain an edge rather than relying solely on technical exchanges. He acknowledged the UFC's interest in making the matchup happen, noting that the organization would have a role to play in keeping the fighters apart until they were properly staged to compete. "The UFC wants this fight to happen, so it's on them to keep us away from each other," Hooker remarked, suggesting that the promotion would need to manage any risk of an unsanctioned confrontation. Beyond the tactical bravado, Hooker's comments revealed a surprising degree of personal animus. He admitted to feeling a visceral dislike for Tsarukyan that he could not fully explain, an antipathy based more on instinct than on familiarity. "I absolutely hate Arman," he said, immediately qualifying that admission by conceding that he did not actually know much about him. "Even though I don't know anything about him," Hooker continued, "I don't like his face. I don't like that his face is attached to his body, and I would love to separate the two." The hyperbolic language underscores the emotion driving his statements, blurring the line between performative bravado and genuine resentment. Hooker closed with a vivid image of the kind of damage he envisions imposing. "Can't wait to elbow him in the nose." The remark fused humor and menace, a fighter's attempt to both entertain and intimidate while signaling readiness for confrontation. Submission Radio's prompt publication of the interview was specifically acknowledged by Hooker, and the quick turnaround helped amplify his message to a wide audience. Taken together, his social media post and the radio appearance conveyed a fighter primed for conflict, willing to use both words and actions to assert dominance, and eager to see the matchup through even if the path there requires management by the promotion to prevent things from boiling over prematurely. Before we jump into the next story, we have a small favor to ask. If you're enjoying the content, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell icon. It really helps us out and ensures you'll never miss an update. Move on to another news. Alex Pereira has fired back at Tom Aspinall's recent criticism, and his response has only added more intrigue to the build-up toward UFC 320. Earlier this week, Aspinall accused the former middleweight and light heavyweight champion of receiving favorable matchmaking throughout his UFC career. According to Aspinall, Pereira did not truly face a high-level grappler until his title defense against Magomed Ankalaev, which in his eyes raised questions about how Pereira was matched up in his rapid rise through the ranks. During his media day appearance on Wednesday, Pereira addressed Aspinall's comments head-on. Dismissing the notion that his path was made easier, Pereira emphasized the challenges he faced as a kickboxing convert competing at the sport's highest level. "I'm a guy who comes from kickboxing. I had no grappling experience. We're talking about the highest level of the sport," Pereira explained. "If you were to put the worst guy in the UFC against me, I'd be at a disadvantage. That makes no sense." His response was direct, pointing out that no matter the opponent, the transition from kickboxing to mixed martial arts posed steep challenges from the start. This was not the first time Pereira pushed back against criticism in Fight Week interviews. In addition to addressing Aspinall's remarks, he also took issue with comments made by Magomed Ankalaev's coach, who referred to him as a slow kickboxer. Pereira, known for his precise striking and knockout power, was quick to clap back at the remark, making it clear he felt the assessment was both disrespectful and inaccurate. Ankalaev, however, stood firmly behind his coach's words. During his own media day session, he doubled down on the claim, saying, "If this is what my coach said, then yes, I agree with it, and we're going to make sure to prove it." The Dagestani contender made it clear that he intends to demonstrate Pereira's supposed shortcomings inside the cage. Adding to the intensity of the rematch is a backstory of simmering bad blood between Pereira and Ankalaev. The Russian fighter recently shared details about a heated encounter with Pereira at the UFC Performance Institute, which stemmed from an earlier interview. According to Ankalaev, his frustrations began after Pereira claimed he was hiding from him out of fear. "That really got me mad," Ankalaev explained in an appearance on Against the Cage. "I wanted to confront him and ended up running into him at the PI. I just told him, 'You were looking for me. You thought I was hiding from you? Well, you found me. Why were you saying saying those things when it's not true. That's where this bad blood comes from. The tension between the two has only heightened in the lead-up to their highly anticipated rematch. On one side, Pereira remains defiant, refusing to accept the narrative that his career has been built on favorable matchups, while also brushing off criticisms of his fighting style. On the other, Ankalaev is determined to validate his camp's assessment of Pereira and capitalize on what he perceives as exploitable flaws. With fight night just around the corner and fans divided in their predictions, the stakes feel higher than ever. Pereira will look to silence his critics and reaffirm his status as one of the most dangerous strikers in the sport, while Ankalaev seeks to prove that his grappling, power, and composure can carry him to victory. With bad blood, contrasting styles, and championship implications on the line, UFC 320 is shaping up to deliver a dramatic clash that fight fans will not want to miss. Move on to another news. Conor McGregor has once again shaken up the MMA world with bold claims about his long-awaited return to the octagon. This week, the Irish superstar appeared on Fox News for an interview with Sean Hannity, where he revealed that his fight at the highly anticipated UFC White House card is not only confirmed but already signed. McGregor's comments quickly made headlines, though questions remain about the validity of his statements, given the lack of official confirmation from UFC President Dana White. Initially, McGregor was expected to appear on the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani, but he pulled out at the last moment without providing a clear explanation. Later in the day, however, he surprised fans by joining Hannity on national television. During the interview, he confidently declared that the fight was set in stone. When asked if the deal was finalized, McGregor was adamant, "It ain't a negotiation. It's a done deal, signed, delivered." He emphasized that this fight will be part of UFC 200, which he linked to America's 250th anniversary celebrations, positioning himself as the centerpiece of one of the promotion's most historic events. Addressing his relationship with Dana White, McGregor dismissed any suggestion that approval from the UFC president was still needed. "Me and Dana are in constant communications. We've done incredible business together," McGregor said. "I'm the highest generating fighter of all time in the UFC. They've just signed a breathtaking deal with Paramount where we go to cable TV, $7.7 billion, and we're ready to rock. Bring in the big dog, the Mac G." As always, McGregor used the opportunity to remind the world of his star power and business influence, framing his return as not just a fight but a monumental event. Beyond the contract talk, McGregor also discussed the seriousness of his preparation. He revealed that he is committing to what he calls a 6-month operation, an isolated training camp designed to ensure he enters the octagon at peak condition. "I have 8 months and change until the White House event. It's a 6-month operation. A period of isolation, for sure, where the phone will not be answered. Everyone involved with me understands that this is coming. The phone will be switched off and the work will be executed. That's my focus right now." The former champion admitted that his last outing ended in disappointment due to injury, but he stressed that his conditioning had been excellent before the setback. He framed his return as a chance to correct past mistakes. "There's a lot at stake, and I'm very excited at the opportunity. I was in incredible condition last time, just a slight lapse in concentration led to an injury. I wish to correct that and show what I'm really about." Naturally, McGregor's comments have fueled speculation about a potential clash with Michael Chandler, who has been waiting for over a year to secure a fight with him. Chandler has repeatedly expressed his eagerness to welcome McGregor back, and these latest revelations are sure to excite him. Still, uncertainty surrounds McGregor's claims. Dana White and the UFC have yet to make an official announcement, even though White revealed several new fights just one day before McGregor's Fox appearance. This raises an important question: is McGregor truly locked in for the historic White House event, or is this another example of his flair for showmanship and hype building? For now, fans are left guessing. McGregor insists the deal is real and that his preparation has already begun. But until Dana White steps forward with an official confirmation, skepticism will linger. One thing is certain, whether fact or bravado, McGregor has once again put the spotlight firmly back on himself, reminding everyone why he remains one of the most talked about figures in combat sports. With speculation swirling and anticipation building, all eyes are now on the UFC to see if the Irishman's grand claims will finally materialize into an official fight announcement. Move on to another news. Robert Whittaker has made it clear that he believes Carlos Ulberg has done more than enough to earn the next shot at the UFC light heavyweight title. The former middleweight champion recently weighed in on the 205-pound title picture during his MMA Arcade podcast, where he broke down Ulberg's latest performance and the impact it should have on the division's pecking order. Heading into last weekend's fight night card in Perth, much of the attention was centered on two pivotal matchups: Carlos Ulberg versus Dominic Reyes and the highly anticipated clash between Yuri Prochaska and Khalil Rountree. Many analysts suggested that these fights would play a major role in determining the next challenger for the light heavyweight strap. Ulberg did not disappoint. The surging contender extended his winning streak to 9 straight bouts by scoring a devastating knockout over former title challenger Dominic Reyes. The finish, combined with his recent run of success, immediately sparked conversations about his place among the elite of the division. With momentum momentum fully on his side, Ulberg has quickly gone from a rising prospect to a legitimate title threat, forcing the UFC and the MMA community to take notice. Whitaker, who has competed at the highest level for years and understands the grind of climbing the rankings, didn't mince words about Ulberg's credentials. He argued that barring something extraordinary in the upcoming Prochaska vs Roundtree fight, Ulberg is the clear choice to challenge for gold. Unless Yuri does like a triple backflip onto Roundtree's head, bar something spectacular like that, then I don't think we're seeing that fight happen, Whitaker said with a mix of humor and certainty. His point was clear: Ulberg's current form and body of work justify a title opportunity. The UFC's official rankings also support Whitaker's perspective. Following his knockout victory, Ulberg climbed to the No. 3 spot in the light heavyweight rankings. Just ahead of him sits Yuri Prochaska at number 2, while Khalil Rountree holds the number 4 position. Ulberg's rise in the standings, coupled with his unbeaten streak in recent years, makes his case difficult to overlook. What stands out about Ulberg's run is not just the number of victories, but the manner in which he's secured them. His striking has been sharp, his composure inside the octagon has grown, and his ability to capitalize on openings has made him one of the division's most dangerous finishers. Against a seasoned opponent like Reyes, he showcased both patience and explosiveness, dismantling the former title challenger in a way that few others have been able to. Whitaker's endorsement carries weight, not only because of his status as a former UFC champion, but also because he has trained alongside some of the best fighters in the world. His assessment reflects a growing sentiment among fans and analysts that Ulberg's time has come. While the UFC is known for throwing curveballs in matchmaking, it would be hard to argue against rewarding a fighter who has strung together 9 consecutive victories in such convincing fashion. Ultimately, much depends on the outcome of Prochaska vs Rountree. If one of those fighters produces an unforgettable performance, the UFC may be tempted to pivot. Still, as Whitaker emphasized, unless something truly spectacular happens, the momentum and logic point toward Carlos Ulberg as the next rightful challenger for the light heavyweight crown. With the division heating up and Ulberg now firmly entrenched in the top 3, fans are left to wonder whether the UFC will capitalize on his surge of momentum. If Whitaker's assessment proves correct, the light heavyweight title picture could soon feature Carlos Ulberg competing for UFC gold. Move on to another news. Dana White and the UFC have once again taken a hard stance on performance-enhancing drugs, as flyweight contender Ramazan Tamirov has been officially suspended following 2 failed drug tests. The 26-year-old prospect, who had been riding a wave of momentum after a promising start to his UFC career, will now be sidelined for an entire year due to violations of the organization's anti-doping policy. According to reports confirmed by Combat Sports Anti-Doping and relayed through MMA Junkie, Tamirov tested positive for a banned substance known as trimetazidine (TMZ) during out-of-competition screenings. The first sample, collected on June 12, and a second, taken on July 4, both returned positive results. TMZ is a drug typically prescribed to patients with heart conditions to improve circulation and protect against angina. However, in the context of sports, it has been flagged as a prohibited substance due to its potential to aid endurance and recovery, attributes that could theoretically give athletes an unfair advantage. While the anti-doping body did note that the amount of the substance found in Tamirov's samples was unlikely to have provided any significant performance-enhancing benefit, the fact remains that TMZ is banned under the UFC's testing program. Rules are rules, and fighters are expected to clear any prescribed medications through official channels before use. In this case, Tamirov failed to do so. The situation appears to have stemmed from an oversight rather than intentional cheating. Tamirov later explained in a social media video that while training in Thailand, he developed multiple infections and skin-related issues. Seeking treatment, he visited a dermatologist who prescribed TMZ without his awareness of its prohibited status. Unfortunately, Tamirov admitted he did not double-check the medication against the UFC's approved list before using it, a mistake that ultimately cost him dearly. Because of the violation, Tamirov was pulled from a scheduled fight at UFC Abu Dhabi on July 8, just days after his second failed test. His suspension has now been made retroactive to the date of that test, which means he will be eligible to return on July 5, 2026. For a young fighter just beginning to make his mark, the punishment is a serious setback. Tamirov entered the UFC with plenty of promise, quickly establishing himself as one to watch in the flyweight division. He made his debut at UFC Fight Night 244, where he secured a dominant first-round victory over CJ Vergara. He followed that performance with a hard-fought decision win against Charles Johnson at UFC Fight Night 253, improving his UFC record to 2-0. Those back-to-back wins showcased his potential and suggested that he could soon emerge as a contender in a competitive division. However, with this suspension in place, Tamirov's momentum has been halted. The UFC and Dana White have repeatedly emphasized their zero-tolerance stance on performance-enhancing drugs, with White making it clear that all fighters, whether newcomers or established stars, are expected to take full responsibility for what enters their system. This suspension is yet another example of how strictly those rules are enforced. For Tamirov, the road back will not be easy. A year away from from active competition means lost time, lost opportunities, and the risk of being forgotten in a stacked division where new contenders emerge quickly. Still, at just 26 years old, he has time to regroup, learn from the mistake, and return stronger. As of now, Tamirov's record remains intact at 2-0 inside the UFC, but fans will have to wait until mid-2026 to see if the young flyweight can reclaim the momentum he once had. Until then, his story serves as another reminder to fighters across the roster: in the UFC's anti-doping era, there is no margin for error.